Hello, welcome again to Restart Your Business, Recharge Your Life. My name is Ana and I'm the Avila Spaces Community Manager. Today our guest is Ana Feliciano, Head of Business Development at Hurb. Hello Ana, thanks for joining.
Thank you so much.
Our topic today is tourism trends on the post-pandemic. Before we talk about that, can you please tell us a little bit about Hurb and your job?
Yeah, sure. So Hurb is actually the largest travel platform in Brazil and one of the largest of Latin America. So we have three main products. We sell accommodation, travel as a service, which are our travel packages, and we also sell experiences. It's actually a new line of revenue that we started this year, and it's going pretty well. So my job as head of business development is basically to make products of our technological solutions that we have inside Hurb. So it's pretty interesting.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we talk about the tourism trends, I think we need to go back to before March 2020. I read that in Portugal, for instance, we have a lot of tourism, of course, but we were going in 9 years straight of average growth of 7.5% of on the overnight stays. Was this sector having its best time ever at that time?
Yeah, I believe so, because actually mass tourism, some people they argue when it started, but it pretty much started when Boeing 707 was created in 1958. So we had 6 decades of growth. So Portugal, it's an excellent case for you to study how tourism can affect and develop in a whole economy, because this is actually what happened after the crisis.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were in a pretty good shape because we had 6 decades of growth, especially here in Portugal, which we was post the crisis.
Yep.
So yeah, and 2020 was a rough year for everyone.
Yeah, we'll talk about that now because March 2020, the tourism almost stopped. How did companies like Hurb, for instance, dealt with that? What happened? How did you guys feel? I know you weren't there, but how did a company like Hurb manage that?
Well, actually, for us, it was a bit easier because we were already digital, so we are not the traditional travel agency. Yeah. So the part of the physical aspect, it wasn't on the equation for us. Mm-hmm. But what we actually had to do, we had to look inside and see where we wanted to grow as a company, where we wanted to be in our long-term strategy. So we had to adapt for what our travelers needed. And we changed things inside. We saw what we needed to do, and we did it. So
that was what I was going to ask you, because in times of crisis, it's an excellent time to adapt, to improve, to change things. What did you do, guys, or what did travel companies do to go around that crisis?
Well, I can definitely tell you about what we did. We looked inside and we focused on optimizing our operation. Mm-hmm. So with the use of technology and machine learning, which is pretty much our core, we are a distribution company, a technological company. We were able to survive the pandemic, and not only survive but grow. So we had to adapt to our travelers' needed. We actually sell packages and travel as a service for in the long term. So you cannot buy a travel as a service or a package with us for the next day. You can buy a hotel, but not a whole package. Mm-hmm. You're going to buy the package for 6, 12, 24 months. And it was actually a way to give people hope that things would go back to normal.
Yeah. This question, I just thought of it. Did people buy a lot, for instance, at the first 2 weeks we said, oh, it's only 2 weeks at home. We'll buy a trip to somewhere in the next month. Now in 2 months, were people still buying in March or not?
Yeah, in March we actually had a drop on sales, but when it was May last year, we actually had a huge increase in sales. Okay. Because we were the only ones selling.
Okay.
So we gave people hope, and planning a trip, it's actually happiness. You're bringing people happiness in a devastating times. We had no idea what was going on. We had no idea if life was going back to normal, and we were selling this hope that things would go back to normal and that they could achieve their dream trips with us.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But after March 2020, do you know when did you guys went back to a little normal? You said May, but then things went down again.
Actually, no. For us, we had a huge increase in May last year, and we kept the sales really well. So we went really well last year.
Tell me something. Right now, do you think it is safe to travel? Isn't safe? What did travel agencies, hotels, flying companies, what did they do to make travel safe?
Well, I do think it's safe for traveling. I just came back from actually a trip from Paris. I was there last week, and I think that we did what everyone did it. So vaccination passport, I totally agree with it. Wearing masks in crowded places, keeping your distance, using alcohol. And you can also have different things like touchless travel experience. So things are changing, and I think that we definitely adapted. I think that's what consumers saw it in the industry, is that airplanes, companies, some hotels, not all hotels, but activities, they adapted to the new reality.
So, for instance, reservations. I remember that if I wanted to book a trip, I had a lot of fees, like if you want a reservation without cancellation fees for a month, for 6 months. Did that change? So people can now have cancellation fees more cheaper, or are they for everybody? How did companies like yours manage that?
Well, this actually will depend from place to place. For example, in Brazil, it was passed a law that allowed travel agencies to postpone their the validation date of the packages. So, for example, it was extended. So I believe that travelers and travel agencies, they have until the end of December of 2022
for all Brazil.
Okay. And then the company can decide if they will postpone or not. Hurb didn't follow this law. We actually, if people want to cancel, they can cancel. We will give their money back. But it wasn't a problem for us.
Did you have that before? The cancellation fees were flexible?
Yeah, we actually have some cancellation fees depending on where you're traveling, which product you're buying, because usually if you're buying an accommodation in a hotel, you need to follow the hotel's policy. And if you're buying like the package, you have to follow other rules. So we pretty much, in Brazil, after 7 days, you buy now, you have 7 days to cancel it for free. And then if you want to cancel after 7 days, we charge a fee, and then we give like 80% of your money back. So it's a good deal.
Some statistics as well say that in the last year and now, people are booking very last minute. So before you were saying people buy a package 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. I never thought of it, but when I was booking a trip, I never booked last minute before the pandemic. I was booking 6 months, and I never thought, okay, it might be a pandemic in 1 month and I won't be able. Does that affect your job? Does that affect agencies?
Well, it does affect agencies because you're giving them less predictability. And in predictability, it's pretty much everything. So you can plan if you know what's going on. For us, it doesn't affect us on travel as a services, which is our travel packages, because we only sell for the long term. So you're probably not gonna buy a package from us today for 1 week. But it does affect us a bit on accommodation, but not as much as traditional travel agencies. You're actually decreasing their power of negotiation and their margin. That's why you usually pay a really higher price.
So going to the trends now, Is the vaccination percentage on the countries, Portugal, for instance, is a very good example, helping the countries recover from the crisis, or is not related? Do people choose countries that have high vaccination rates?
I believe that countries with high vaccination rates, they are definitely improving faster. I'm not going to discuss here about vaccination inequality because this is another problem. But for example, Germany is facing the fourth wave of COVID right now because they only have 67% of their population vaccinated. Portugal, on the other hand, was the first country in the world to hit the 85% of the population with the 2 doses of vaccines. So, and Portugal is now like one of the main destinations in Europe. So,
really?
Yeah, it's one of the main destinations in Europe. It's open for a lot of countries. So yes, definitely, they are definitely.
We were talking about happiness. When you buy a trip, you buy happiness. You feel grateful to be able to travel. Does that feeling make you spend more? Like, are people spending more now because they haven't traveled for so long? Were they saving?
I think that COVID actually taught us a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
So it was a big hit for us. We were amid in the situation that no one ever faced. The last pandemic was during after the First World War, so it's been like 100 years. So I think that people are now reflecting on what they learned about COVID and everything. So yeah, planning a trip, it gives you happiness. So if you think about Maslow hierarchy of needs, travel it's like on the top need. So yeah, I definitely think that people will start traveling more because after what we've been through, why not?
But does that make them spend more money, for instance?
Well, it makes them travel more. So
okay, you spend more money. That's interesting because you notice that people that used to travel like once a year, that summer trip, are traveling more.
I think that
I don't know if we have statistics for that yet.
I think that it's too soon to understand that, but we now have different types of travels. For example, we now have the digital nomads that are people that are working remotely.
At Avila, we have a lot of that.
I am one.
Yes,
so,
of course.
So that's like I work in Brazil and I'm living here in Portugal. So yeah, we do have this new experience of digital nomads. You have a lot of here. So yeah, people are actually traveling more.
Yeah.
So not only once a year, but it's a different type of travel. Not like you're gonna walk 20 kilometers in Lisbon every day. No, you're working, course. But you're here.
Yeah. So. That's very cool. That's a cool perspective. The number of overnight stays is increasing, decreasing. What do you feel about that? And also the weekend getaways. We had a lot of weekend getaways. In Europe, we can go anywhere. In Brazil, not so much, going to other countries in a weekend. But that's a very common thing in Europe. Is that decreasing, increasing?
I think that we have space for both types of travels. Okay. Because weekend getaways, they will always be a trend. As I was mentioning, we are digital nomads. I am, and a lot of people here working in Avila are, but we cannot travel the whole week. And we usually have the weekend to take off. So I think they will always be a trend. But definitely we have some increase in overnight stays, but I don't think that one actually decreases the other. I think they actually have a lot of synergy, that they go both up like in the same rate. Okay,
that's interesting. I was just thinking about that. Weekend getaways are not a trend in Brazil, right?
Yeah, actually it is, but not for other countries.
Inside the country.
Because Brazil is pretty much a continent in itself, but we do travel a lot on weekends for near cities nearby or other states, etc. But not as much as Europe, because here it's really easy. You take a plane in 2 hours, you're in France or in the Netherlands, I don't know, everywhere.
Okay, yes. When I was looking to current trends, I saw the word experience. You talked about it. Being locked down made people want experience more what they do, because you know that people like to go like check places out of, like the Eiffel Tower, Versailles, take a picture, put it on Instagram. now we want to experience more. Maybe we go to France, but we don't do some things, but do others.
Yeah, I think that experience was actually a trend before COVID hit,
Yeah.
and after COVID, it only increased because we are a different generation. So if you think about where the money is, the money now it's in millennials and in Gen Z, and we are a completely different generation.
Yeah.
We don't want to just travel to check places, as you're mentioning. We want more. We want to leave the place. We want to have a connection with the place. So yeah, it was a trend before, and after it's here to stay.
Okay. And that brings me to my next question. I always thought like my dream trip, I'll do it in like 10 years with a lot of planning. We always have that destination that we really want to go. But for some reason, we never do in the middle term. We always think about it on the long term. Are people doing that trip now? Not.
I think that, as I was mentioning before, COVID was a really hard hit for everyone. We all were affected in any way. We couldn't go across the street sometimes to go to the supermarket. How we were going to take a plan and travel for our dream destination. I can tell you about me. My dream destination is India.
Okay.
So I'm planning on doing it as soon as I can, because after spending almost a year and a half incarcerated in my own house, I think that people were putting into perspective what really matters. COVID taught people many different things. So I think that even if they are not doing their dream trip right now, they will definitely travel more.
I also saw a nice trend. I did it myself last year. It's the staycation. Stay at your own country. I was indoor. I was never there. I was like, how could I not come here before? But will that be a tendency like next year, one more year? Do we know that?
Well, I think it's too soon for us to understand what's next for a staycation, but I do think that people learn to enjoy their own homes and explore it. So for Hurb, for example, we now we sell experiences. So we offer experiences for our travelers to enjoy their own home. For example, I'm from Rio, so now you can go to our website and then you can buy tickets to Cristo Redentor, are really nice experiences that we have there. Like you can do the bossa nova walk around the city. It's really nice.
Okay, yeah, that makes me think like many people must see Cristo Redentor and think, I'm Brazilian, I was never there. Yeah, many people are doing that now. Yeah, that's cool. Ecotourism is also a big trend. Why is that?
Well, because that's what we were just discussing about experience. I think that there are a lot of factors regarding ecotourism. First, experiences here. We are a different generation and we are way more conscious about our world, where our impact on it, how we work and how it does affect. So I think that all of this, it's in the equation when we think about the increase of ecotourism. It's an experience. We are way more conscious regarding sustainability, environment, pollution, etc. And you're here, and in ecotourism, you're actually connecting with the places, nature and people and everything. So I think it's a bit of a mix of everything, but it's experience. Experience in the end is everything.
I was thinking about that because sustainability is like a buzzword right now. Is tourism right now more sustainable? The pandemic helped us understand that fast tourism is not the way to go. Our impact in other countries, in other destinations.
Well, I think that as I was mentioning with the experiences, sustainable tourism was already a trend before the pandemic. So the World Economic Forum, for example, we talk a lot about it. Hurb is actually a company from the World Economic Forum, and in the events we talk a lot about sustainable tourism and how we can improve it, because tourism is actually one of the main important economic sectors, not just because of tourism, but it's due to its spillover effect. So when you're increasing tourism in a place, you're not just increasing the number of people that are going to stay at a hotel and go, I don't know, here in Lisbon, going to Caixa de São Jorge. Not that. You're actually developing a whole region.
Yep.
But with the economical developments, we have the issues too. So we have overcrowded, you have the destruction of local nature, pollution, plastic waste, etc. So I think that the pandemic actually taught us to take a step back. If you think about the beginning of the pandemic, that the waters in Venice were crystal clear.
I was just thinking about Venice, yes.
Yeah, so I think it's time for us to reflect because tourism is really important.
Yeah.
We need to develop it, but we can't destroy the world doing it. So how do we do it?
I was just thinking about Venice because I don't know if you saw it, but they are thinking about, I don't know if they are doing it now, but limiting the number of people there. Can that be a trend for the future? Like Lisbon can only have 10,000 people. It's a weird number. But that can happen?
Yeah, I think that not in Lisbon.
But it's not a
places,
good example.
You can
Dubrovnik, for instance.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely something that can help. It already happens in some places that you cannot visit. For example, Machu Picchu, you cannot go to the ruins anymore. You have to see it from above. It's really sad.
That's my dream trip.
Yeah, it's one of my dream trips too.
Yeah.
But I think that this is something that can happen, and what we can do about it is that we can better distribute the demand for it, because what we were saying, it's about experience.
Yeah.
So for example, if people are going to the Nordic, Brazilians for example, if they want to go to the Nordic countries to see the fjords, we actually have one in Brazil.
Really?
Yeah, we have one in Rio, in Paraty.
Okay.
It's the only fjord in Latin America. So we have a place that is overcrowded here and way more expensive, so why don't we better distribute from there to Brazil?
That's a very nice perspective. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we also have like the Portuguese Venice in Aveiro, for instance. That's a good example. Experience. Luxury trips are also very different because, as you said, people want experience. I was seeing that many people want to go to like very unknown cities, very unknown locations that only few people know. In Portugal, you have like Alentejo, for instance. Is that a trend for the people that really want to spend money, go to places that no one knows?
I definitely think so, because luxury tourism is actually a world apart. So there are a lot of things that we don't understand about it because we don't travel. Like at least I don't travel for a 6-star hotel.
Yeah.
But I think that this is actually a trend because people are way more conscious about the environment, about where to spend their money. And if they want to spend it, they will spend it. So why not have a great hotel in the middle of nowhere?
With very few rooms.
With very few rooms, the best restaurants. If they want to spend it, I definitely think so. It's better than fighting for, I don't know, to see the Mona Lisa in Louvre.
Yeah, it's a very good example. Business trips are coming back or not? Because you used to see a lot of like suits around the city, at the airport. I don't think we see that much people traveling for business. You did last week, I know. But is that like decreasing?
Well, I think that one of the things that the pandemic taught us is that we can go digital. We can do many things digital. So I think like I did last week, I did travel for business, but I don't think that it will come back in the same level as 2019. I really don't.
We are just starting to end our conversation, but I really want to know something. Did technology help like hotels and the tourism during the pandemic? Did people take advantage of it? Did people not? What happened in that case?
I think that it would depend on hotel to hotel, but what I can say from my experiences is that accommodation, they didn't actually enjoy the opportunity to go fully digital. It's actually a huge opportunity in the market. So for example, I was in a hotel last week and they gave me the satisfaction survey that they do it on paper. Why not sending me an email. So I think that this is actually a huge opportunity to go touchless on check-in, check-out. In Brazil, for example, 88% of hotels are actually small and medium enterprises. This is actually way different from the rest of the world. So they do not have the resources to develop this technology in-house. So why not we develop it? Why we don't create a platform in which we give the traveler a space to go to do everything touchless, contactlessly actually. So, and we improve his experience. Why not? He can come to a hotel and he already has his credit card recorded, his room key ready, and the air conditioner is set in his favorite temperature. Why not? It's actually a huge opportunity.
That's very interesting. I was at an hotel this summer and they asked me for my check-in time. So I gave it to them, and when I arrived, my room wasn't ready. Because they only wanted to know, not to give me the room, but just to know. That's very interesting. Do you think this was a golden opportunity to start a better way of traveling?
Definitely. I think that as I probably am being repetitive because I've already said this a lot of times, but I think that the pandemic really was a time for reflection. So it was a time to improve operation. It was a time to become more competitive. It was a time to understand that the digital world is here to stay. And if you didn't take the opportunity, I don't know when it's going to be the next one. But I think it is.
So just to end our conversation and out of curiosity, what are you guys' top 3 destinations now?
Okay, so our top 3 destinations for travel as a service, because it's our travel packages in 2020, was Orlando, Cancun, and Beto Carreiro, which is an amusement park located in the south of Brazil. And in 2021, let me just check here, it was Beto Carreiro again, the northeast. We sold many packages to João Pessoa, Recife, Natal, and Orlando again.
Okay. So, Anna, just tell us where we can find Hurb and where we can find you. I know you are going back to Brazil very soon, unfortunately.
I'm going back in December, but you guys can follow us on Instagram. It's at Hurb and at Mundo Hurb, and mine is at Ana Feliciano.
Thank you so much, Anna, for your excellent inputs around the topic of tourism. We are just ending. Thank you so much for watching us. We'll be back next month with another topic. Thank you.
Thank you.